You're listening to Grandview Radio. You got JQ in the studio here tonight. There's no Big Gil here with me. He'll be on in an hour. It is Switch Week here at Grandview, which means you got me alone for the whole hour. Tonight, I got a whole bunch of wacky stories from the past couple weeks for you. Got a lot to talk about. Stay tuned to Grandview Radio to see what's going on. You're listening to Grandview Radio. JQ in the studio for you. And I told you I had wacky news for you, so how about this one? Passengers on a San Francisco-bound British Airways flight were delayed for 4 hours after a mouse was spotted on board before takeoff. Travelers were removed from the aircraft and boarded a separate plane. A lot of passengers kind of poked fun at British Airways and kind of had a little bit of fun with it. One of them tweeted, "Just had my flight to SFO canceled because of a mouse on board. Could it not get a visa?" Another one referenced Trump's travel ban and saying that the mouse may not have been cleared to enter the United States. Whatever it was, the mouse was escorted off the plane and the plane was put back in service. And British Airways said it did not affect their operation, so that is good. Now back to the music here on The Edge 88.1. You're listening to Grandview Radio, and I told you I had wacky news for you. This one is wacky. Witches worldwide gathered to cast a spell on Trump last Friday. President Trump has apparently had some negative energy in the White House, so witches from the Coven of the Raven Moon in Flint, Michigan, decided to cast a spell on him. High Priestess Amy Jean Gooseland calls it the end-all, squash-all of all negativity, and that's a beautiful thing. The spell will make way for positive energy to enter the White House, and the spell will prevent the person in question from being able to project energy that is going to have negative outcomes. So, if Mr. Trump was planning on doing anything negative, look out for that. It might not happen because these witches casted a spell on him. But it looks like we're looking for some good vibrations in the White House. And speaking of good vibrations, here's Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch with Good Vibrations on The Edge 88.1. You're listening to Grandview Radio. Funny story from University of Akron. Joe Guerin, who is known around campus as Longboard Jesus, has become famous for one very, very, very popular video. There was a video that got released of him longboarding across campus in a Jesus costume. He said that he just bought the costume for a Halloween party and he longboarded to the party. And someone took a video of him and he took it upon himself to produce a professional video of him longboarding across campus. And he says that companies have actually reached out with him to collaborate and find ways to use him in advertising. So it's pretty cool what's going on there, and it's neat that he's getting that opportunity. Now we're back to the music on The Edge 88.1. You're listening to Grandview Radio with JQ on Major League Mondays. I'm without Big Gil tonight, but that's all right. Over the weekend, a crazy video of a group of wild turkeys walking in a circle around a dead cat surfaced. It was absolute madness. The man who posted it described it as an attempt to give the feline its 10th life. It had over 500,000 hits in just a few hours. After re-looking through the video, people said that there were about 17 total turkeys, and they were literally walking in circles around this dead cat. Dave Scarpiti, who's a wildlife biologist at the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, says the turkeys were likely sizing up the threat of the cat, and they realized there wasn't much threat because it was dead. So I don't know if they were going to make a meal out of it or if they were just going to let it end its life there. But anyways, if you got time, check the video out. It is madness. Now back to the music on The Edge 88.1. You're listening to Grandview Radio with JQ on Major League Mondays without Big Gil. Over the weekend, firefighters in Mayville, Wisconsin had to respond to a fire at their own firehouse after a passerby reported seeing flames from the inside. Apparently, one of their own fire engines burst into flames while they were gone, and they didn't even know it. They were actually out responding to another call, and then they got the call at a very, very, very familiar address, which just happened to be their own firehouse. They were able to set the fire out, and they just had to open up the doors and let it ventilate a little bit. Nobody was hurt, and their daily operations were not affected, so all is well in Mayville, Wisconsin. Now back to the music here with Strange Clouds on The Edge 88.1. You're listening to The Edge 88.1. Now, two teens from Wisconsin had the idea to build a roller coaster in their backyard. JT Nijedlo and Aiden Devon were the brains behind the whole operation. They had to cut a hole through a treehouse to make way for the track, and this is a project that started as they were freshmen in high school, and it took them over 3 years. JT Nijedlo says, "We decided to build a roller coaster because it would be fun, obviously." And Aiden Devon said, "We had a whole work schedule set up where we would get up at 7 a.m. in the summer and work all day." They had a lot of questions from their classmates and their teachers who didn't necessarily think they could get it done, but they ended up pulling it off, and everyone was at their backyard to ride it once it was finished. There's actually been several news stories from the Today Show, even all the way down to some local stories. Really crazy story. If you want to see more stories, crazy stories like that, go on to gvumedia.com, where you can see stories like that from Grandview's campus. Now back to the music here on The Edge 88.1.
You are tuned in to Edge 88.1 with Jake and B. Jake, what you got for us today?
Well, happy Pizza Day, everybody. That's right. February 9th is National Pizza Day here in the United States. Pizza is very common in the United States. Over 3 billion pizzas are sold each year, and another billion from just frozen pizzas.
What?
Yeah. How often do you eat pizza, Breon?
I would probably say once or twice a week.
Yeah, I used to eat it all the time when I was a kid, but it's definitely become less a part of me as I've grown up a little bit. Frozen pizzas are definitely something that I was kind of raised on. Pepperoni is the most popular pizza. 36% of all pizzas are pepperoni, and 17% of all U.S. restaurants are pizzerias.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's craziness. The first pizzeria was opened in 1700s, actually, in Italy. First one in America, not until the 1800s.
So what about like the pizza places who like Papa Murph's? You know, they have like frozen
Little
pizzas,
take and bake pizzas. Yeah.
Yeah, take and bake pizzas. Do those count as like pizzerias, or are they more of a just kind of?
No, I'm not too sure about the logistics here, but I'd imagine they do. I'd imagine they count because those have to be counting towards the 3 billion pizzas that we've sold over the course of a year to Americans.
Yeah, and that kind of shows you how unhealthy America is.
Yeah, it truly does.
Well, you know what? We're going to get back to the music. This is Edge 88.1 with Jake and B.
This is The Edge 88.1. JQ in the studio now. On this day in 2009, New York Yankees Alex Rodriguez admitted to taking banned substances. He was a pretty iconic sports figure, especially when I was growing up. He was someone I definitely looked up to, and I went to several Yankees-Royals games, and I thought he was incredible. I thought he was the man, the myth, the legend, Alex Rodriguez. He did it again in 2010 to 2012. He took testosterone cream, testosterone boosters, and HGH after being reinstated. This is all after he already admitted that he had done it once. And Anthony Bosch, he was the owner of Bioagencies of America, actually taught him how to inject, and this was all published. And once this went public, Bud Selig, the commissioner of the MLB, suspended Alex Rodriguez for an entire season. It actually ended up being more like 211 games. Rodriguez, however, he claimed his innocence for about as long as he possibly could until he just had no more wiggle room and he had to finally admit to what he had done. Now back to the music with Dancing Kizomaba.
You are tuned in to Edge 88.1 with Jake and B. What's up, Des Moines?
Something from our own backyard here, from Des Moines, in town. The Des Moines North football program was featured on ESPN's Outside the Lines with Bob Lee earlier this week. This is really important to Des Moines because it's something that's happening really close to us. It's something that we see every day. Sean Quinlan, he was hired as head coach for Des Moines North football program. He's a former Marine, and instead of focusing more on winning football games, he was focusing more on changing these kids' lives.
Now, how exactly do you do that?
Yeah, they're a historically bad football program. They would win one game, maybe 2 games in a season if it was a good season.
Okay.
And so something that Sean Quinlan focused on was changing the game or using the game of football to teach these men the game of life. And 88% of Des Moines North's high school population is living under the poverty line. So there's a lot of broken homes, a lot of problems. And this coach came in and he did something that was really important, and he was there for these kids. He was a companion for these kids.
So he was what you would say you could kind of say the father that wasn't there.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, football practice, for those of people who have played football, normally it's long, hard days and super, super difficult tasks. But instead of focusing on that kind of stuff at practice, he would do those kind of things and say, now this is what the real world is like. This is what life is like. So take this competitiveness out into the real world.
Okay. I actually had a coach like that. He always taught us, football lessons, but also lessons outside of football. Just, I feel like they actually do that in a lot of colleges and especially a lot of smaller schools because, you could kind of talk to your coaches more, things like that.
I agree. I think it's important that there's people like that in the world. Now back to the music on the Edge, 88.1.
You are tuned in to Edge 88.1 with Jake and B. So, a fast food fresh meals restaurant. How does that work? I don't exactly get it. So, I'm guessing at Fresh Fit Meals, you can get healthy meals such as salads, garden salads, sandwiches, soups, and things like that are actually really good for you for low prices in Ankeny and Urbandale, and soon to be in West Des Moines at Fresh Fit Meals. Serving fish, tacos, yogurts, and most of all, they have no added preservatives, all natural meats, amazing taste, and actually more. But the thing is, can fast food actually be healthy for you? Just kind of the fast thing, like dropping fries in the grease, or maybe just the burgers in about 10 seconds. Now, can you do this with healthier food? I don't really think that you can, but I mean, I think it'll help America's like overweight problem. But are you putting these restaurants in the right places is my question. Places like Iowa, I don't too much think they would do too well here, but I feel like a place like Mississippi, where they have some of the largest people in the U.S., I actually think it would make a huge difference, just helping out, starting small, one state, and moving on to the U.S. and maybe see what we can do, see if we can change some things and just kind of, I don't know, just kind of change it up, I would say, not really eating the same fattening things that aren't doing anything good for you, but, switching it up. It's a new year, new things. Let's try some new foods. Up next, Wake Up Call by Nothing But Thieves. You are tuned in to Edge 88.1 with Jake and B. So, Jake, let's just start off like this. Is America being made great again?
I'm not too sure about that. I think Donald Trump certainly has good intentions, but I think he could be going about it at the wrong way, especially with the whole travel ban, which it was held up by a court, and it doesn't look like it's going to be in effect. But the travel ban is, to me, it's ridiculous.
So what? I'm not even going to ask you what makes you think it's ridiculous, but I feel like it's not that ridiculous because of things that are going on right now, as far as like the terrorist things that are going on. Now, I'm not saying that it's that group of people, but I'm just saying, like, maybe this is actually a good thing. Maybe they should actually be behind them with this one.
Whatever happened to the American dream, though? Whatever happened to that? People from all other countries like to come into America, and they call it the American dream, and they come here and they do good things for our country. I think we need more of that. I think we're a very culturally diverse country, and I think we're going in a good direction, but it seems like there's been a little bit of a halt to it lately.
Yeah, I can actually agree with that. But at the same time, I feel like along with the people who come in and do good things for us, there's that 1% that come in and do bad things for us. And I feel like they they tank the image of the individuals who do good. And I feel like, well, I don't know if you've ever heard that, people remember the bad things, not the good.
Yeah.
You can save somebody's life today, and Put somebody down the stairs tomorrow. They're gonna remember you for pushing somebody downstairs.
I agree with you.
You know what? We're gonna let our listeners basically tell us what they think. So let us know what you think on KDPS 88. This is Edge 88.1 with Jake and B.
You're listening to The Edge 88.1. After 20 years as the Olympics announcer, Bob Costas has officially stepped down for NBC, and he will be passing the torch to Mike Tiricio. 1 year from now, the Winter Olympics will be starting, and there will be a new face for us. Costas officially passed the torch, and a little irony here is Mike Tiricio was actually the first recipient of the Bob Costas Scholarship at Syracuse, and now he is literally taking his job. So talk about filling someone's footsteps. It will certainly be different for me because Bob Costas is the only Olympics announcer I know. From watching it since I was a young boy, it's been Bob Costas forever. And seeing a new face like Mike Tiricio, it'll certainly be different, but it's something we're going to have to get used to. I assume Mike Tiricio will do this one for a long time. Mike Tiricio, I like what he does on air. He's good on air. I'm excited to see him talk about the Olympics. Bob Costas, also good. Gonna miss him. Back to the music now on 88.1. You're listening to Grandview Radio. This is Jacob Quirk, and today I have a special guest in Dan Hupke. He's a gun safety advocate and a hunter. Thanks for joining us today, Dan.
Thanks for having me, Jake.
Yes, of course. The Iowa House advanced a bill late last week taking out a provision that would have banned the Board of Regents from implementing gun-free policies on its campus. What makes a campus different than any part of Iowa? Why is this happening?
Obviously, a campus is going to be a totally different place from someone's home because it's not privately owned, and that's the key difference because there's oversight and there's people that make decisions for the residents that live on campuses. And so that's really what separates a college campus from any other place in Iowa that is privately owned by an individual. You have, when living in public housing, you generally, in most cases, have less rights than if you were on your own individual property.
And do you think this was a good change? Do you think this is something that should have happened? Because initially, the law was that it was going to ban the Board of Regents from implementing these policies, and now the new provision says they can implement these policies.
So yeah, obviously I don't agree with that coming from my background. I think if anything they should do something along the lines of increasing education and increasing gun safety courses or something along those lines rather than just outright being able to implement gun-free policies on campuses because that's I don't think implementing a gun-free policy is really going to ultimately stop anybody from doing bad things, unfortunately, just because if someone's got it in their mind that they're going to commit a heinous crime, like it doesn't matter if it's a gun-free policy, the person's going to continue to do that regardless, because it's not just because you're telling somebody that they can't bring a gun somewhere doesn't mean they're not going to. And generally, in most cases, when you're implementing gun-free policies, really the only people you end up hurting are law-abiding citizens who obey all the laws and carry those guns legally, and now they can't because it's a gun-free zone.
Sure. And Representative Mary Wolf, she's a top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee here in Iowa, says she cannot support the bill because it expands the instances in which a person could use reasonable deadly force. She believes the changes would indisputably make Iowa a more dangerous place to live. What could possibly make this law dangerous?
And honestly, I don't see how it could be dangerous at all because, like I said earlier, when you have a gun-free zone, the only people that can't carry guns in there are legal citizens that have obtained their weapons legally. Criminals can carry guns wherever they want because it doesn't matter what the law is. They're the criminal. They're breaking the law. They can carry a gun wherever they want. And so that's why it if anything it makes not letting this bill go through makes Iowa a more dangerous place because they're allowing them to implement gun-free policies, which is going to lead to more gun crime. Unfortunately, that's generally the trend across many different research studies on statistics with gun crime.
Mm-hmm. And now Representative Matt Winschlitt, he's the bill's sponsor. He said there's been an ongoing dispute about how cities and counties and others have interpreted the current law. But the new bill will not force them to change any of their current practices. Rather, it will provide an avenue for Iowans who feel adversely affected by gun-free policies to pursue legal relief through the courts. So what do you make of this? What is this law really doing?
I mean, from what I hear about it, essentially, it's just it's not changing any actual laws. It just allows for people to seek legal assistance when dealing with a situation in which they had to use lethal force. And I think that's absolutely important and definitely something that should be provided to people, because they've just experienced some very, very traumatic thing. They're going through something that they had to use lethal force, and so obviously that's a situation that no one wants to be put under. And I think that if they're going to pursue legal help, they should get all the help that they deserve, because obviously no one wants to be in that situation where you have to defend your home or family.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dan, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Love having your insight on this.
For sure.
Alrighty, until next time, this is Grandview Radio with Jacob Quirk.
Hi, welcome back to KDPS The Edge FM. I am Nathan, and I'm with Jake, and we wanted to talk about the NFL today, specifically the NFC North Division. The Lions and Packers are both tied in first place with a record of 3-1, and the Minnesota Vikings are in third place at 2-2 after suffering a loss to the Lions last week. The Vikings had a key injury last week against the Lions. Running back Dalvin Cook tore his ACL on a non-contact knee injury. He just fell down and he didn't come back the rest of the game. After the game, Mike Zimmer diagnosed Dalvin Cook with the torn ACL. And the Bears, who played the Green Bay Packers last week, also lost, and they're in last place with a record of 1-3. And there was a key injury with the Bears and Packers game. Do you want to tell us about that, Jake?
Yeah, we saw the linebacker from the Bears, Danny Trevathan, lay a pretty brutal hit on Davante Adams from the Packers. He led with the crown of his helmet, and he knocked Davante Adams unconscious for a couple minutes. And that was a pretty scary moment. I know I was watching it, and you could see right away some of the Packers players signaling to the sideline that they needed a trainer out there immediately.
Yes, I'm a Vikings fan. I was watching that game. I saw the hit live. That kind of scared me to a point where I didn't know if he could ever play a football game again.
Yeah, we've seen hits like that in the past, especially the Packers. They had a player named Jermichael Finley who took a hit similar to that one, and he hasn't played ever since then. And we're seeing that more and more now, where players are getting hit, and it's a hit that literally changes their life. So I'm kind of happy that the league is moving in a way with these suspensions that even first-time offenders like Danny Trevathan, he lays one nasty hit and now he's suspended for 2 games. I think that's definitely appropriate.
Yes, that's a scary situation. I'm also glad the NFL is taking control. Their two-game suspension is pretty significant, I believe, and I wish Davante Adams the best in his recovery. Next week, the Packers will play at the Cowboys, and the Chicago Bears host the Minnesota Vikings, and Detroit Lions also host the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, the Vikings seem to be having another one of those seasons where they're going to get bit with the injury bug pretty early. That's really bad news for what happened to Dalvin Cook, and the fact that they just always get banged up early, and it always seems to happen around this time of year when it looks like they might even be a good team.
That's correct. Last year, Teddy Bridgewater went down with a torn ACL, and I heard he might have lost his leg if it was severe enough, and so he's on the PUP list, so he might come back week 6. Sam Bradford took over the reins last year, and he got hurt after the week 1 game this year, and Case Keenum got banged up a little bit last week also. So
yeah, it's just terrible to see all these people going down for the Vikings, but the NFC North is definitely going to be a division to look out for this year. Now back to the music here on The Edge 88.1. You are listening to The Edge 88.1 KDPS Des Moines with JQ and Nathan. And now we're talking a little more serious topic here, still in the NFL, but kind of the political climate lately with the NFL. In the past couple weeks, there's been around 200 players who have expressed their opinion in some way, shape, or form during the national anthem, whether that's taking a knee, or the Bills running back LaShawn McCoy was doing stretches, or the Oakland Raiders running back Marshawn Lynch was sitting down on the bench and he was shielded by Oakland Raiders staff, so the cameras couldn't see him, but the cameras could still see him, obviously. So kind of talking about this political climate, what is it that set this whole thing off, and why has it grown so much?
To start off, Colin Kaepernick, he was a former quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. He knelt during a preseason game last year, and after the game, some reporters asked him why he knelt, and he said he was unhappy with the way minorities were treated in the country. And it kind of slowly caught on throughout the season, and Kaepernick ended up losing his job at the end of the season and didn't get re-signed. And then this year, just a couple weeks ago, President Donald Trump at a political rally for 2020 said that all the players should stand or the owners should fire them. And that kind of set off many players getting upset with the president, as well as a lot of owners who some donated money to Trump's campaign last year.
Yeah. And when we have a president like Donald Trump who is so trigger happy when it comes to saying controversial things, or tweeting controversial things, it looks like he spent a lot of time and a lot of his energy just directly devoted to tweeting about the NFL and tweeting about players and calling them names and calling their mothers names. But why is he dedicating so much time to this? There's so much tragedy in this world right now, and is his focus really, does this really warrant his focus because they're protesting racial inequality?
I think Donald Trump is, kind of using the NFL to kind of take off some of his own heat, some of the criticism he's been taking as of late. He is a man, like you said, there's a lot of tragedy in the world, and he seems to just focus on one topic more than like a lot of topics. And it's interesting to see how he goes through the presidency, and I'm not sure exactly what he's trying to do with the NFL other than to get people kind of mad, I guess. And I don't think any of the players have said these protests are against the military or the country. They're just upset with how the country is serving its people.
Yeah, and we hear the argument all the time that this is not the platform for them to be protesting. This is not the platform for them to show their opinion, but clearly it is the platform. If it's been going on for over a year, clearly this is the platform for them to do their political protest on, and it's grown so big. Like I said, over 200 players. We've seen things start moving in the right direction. We've seen this grow so big.
Yes, I completely agree. This is a discussion that will keep going on and on for weeks, and we'll have to see how it plays out. And you're listening to KDPS The Edge. Hi, welcome back to KDPS The Edge. Our last topic we wanted to cover is something in Iowa. The University of Iowa recently built a children's hospital across from Kinnick Stadium, their football stadium. And I think this kind of caught on through social media, where after the first quarter of every home game this season, the fans, Iowa fans, opposing fans, have all turned to wave to the kids in the hospital. And the kids are kind of, they're watching the game, they have signs. It's a really cool thing to see. I know after the Penn State game, or during the Penn State game the other night in prime time, ESPN interviewed a few patients during the game, and they showed the fans waving. And since it was a night game, the fans showed they had their phones out, so they had like their lights on their phones, and it was really cool to see.
Yeah, this is what a lot of people are calling the best new college football tradition. It's been widely reported on by some of the media's biggest names, like Scott Van Pelt. He's a really, really popular sports anchor for SportsCenter, and he has his late night show. It's One Final Thought with Scott Van Pelt, and he talked about this for a couple minutes and gave a really, really, really neat feature of it. And College Game Day, just this past weekend, they did a feature of it, and they had thousands and thousands of people from Virginia Tech waving towards the cameras. And directed it towards the Iowa Children's Hospital. So it's just amazing that something local like this has grown to be a nationwide phenomenon, and it's being talked about all over.
I completely agree. It's really cool to see, not just because it's in Iowa, but because fans all across the country want to wave, and I mean, they want to make the kids really happy and through their difficult times.
Yeah, I've also seen fans waving at NFL games. They did a small feature at it for the Monday Night Football game last night, and it was showing fans in the stadium from the NFL games waving in honor of the Iowa Children's Hospital. So we're talking, this isn't even at the NCAA level only. This is at the professional level. This is at the mainstream level. Everyone knows about this by now, and the University of Iowa Children's Hospital is going on the map for this one. You even saw it happen at Michigan State game when Iowa played at Michigan State. So Iowa travels, goes to an opposing Big Ten school where they're supposed to have what's called a rivalry, or even a small rivalry, and they have their opposing fans waving for them, and they have fans that traveled still waving. They're waving all across the country. It's pretty neat to see, and got to be honest, it's like really inspiring that it's coming from local place.
Exactly, it's inspiring. I mean, I never thought I would see a children's hospital being across the street from a football stadium and fans acknowledging their presence. And I'm interested to see how, like, other teams, other schools, do something to show their support for people in need or hard times.
I'm sure this will become more popular as time goes on. Now we're back to the music here on The Edge, 88.1.